Hi scientists! Today we are going to make a homemade lava lamp and learn about two concepts, polarity and density. But don't worry, our lava lamps won't have real lava in them. First, let's gather up your materials. For today's lesson, you will need water, oil, food coloring, Alka-seltzer tablets, and either a cup, bottle, or jar.
You're going to start off by filling your container about a quarter full of water, and then add a few drops of the food coloring of your choice. Third, fill up the rest of the container with oil, leaving around an inch or two of space at the top. What do you notice about the oil and water? Are they mixing? Try mixing two liquids with a utensil, or by closing and gently shaking the bottle if you're using one. Do they look mixed now? Pause the video here and let your mixture sit for 5 minutes or until you notice a separation.
Here comes the exciting part. Break up your Alka-seltzer and drop it into your oil-water mixture. What's happening? Why do you think it's happening? If you want to make your lava lamp look even cooler than it already does, turn off your lights and shine a flashlight underneath it. Add in the rest of your Alka-seltzer pieces to keep the awesomeness going. So what's the science behind this? Why did the oil sit on top of the water when we poured it in? Well, I want to ask you a question first. If I have a brick in one hand and a piece of wood on the other hand that's the same size, which one is heavier? A brick is heavier because it is denser than wood. Density is a measure of how close together atoms are packed. Remember our atoms from yesterday's baking soda explosion? I'm made of atoms, you're made of atoms, and everything is made of atoms. So the brick and the piece of wood are both made of atoms, but a chunk of wood has less of them than the same size of brick. If something of a certain size has less atoms, it has a lower density and will weigh less. Quick question, what is air? Do you think air has density? In fact, it does, but its density is very low. Air may look like empty space, but it is actually made up of multiple gases, each of which has its own type of atom. All of these atoms in the air are moving around really quickly and are spaced pretty far apart, which is true of all gases.
How do density and atoms apply to our lava lamp? Well, when we added the oil to the water, the oil sat on top of the water because oil has a lower density. Even when we mixed the two liquids, they slowly separated on their own because lighter substances naturally float to the top and heavier substances sink to the bottom. And why don't oil and water like to mix? When you tried stirring or shaking your bottle, you might have noticed that the oil broke up into tiny beads, but these beads didn't mix with the water. That's because of something called polarity. Different substances can be polar or nonpolar, and they'll only want to mix with similar substances. Oil and water have different polarities, so they don't want to mix.
What happened when we added the Alka-seltzer? Adding the Alka-seltzer created a chemical reaction just like yesterday's volcano. For our volcanoes, we mixed baking soda and vinegar to produce carbon dioxide gas, which exploded to create our lava. Today, our lava is the product of a chemical reaction with Alka-seltzer and water. Adding the Alka-seltzer made all of the atoms in your water excited and created carbon dioxide gas bubbles. These bubbles floated to the top because carbon dioxide gas is less dense than both the water and the oil. So now that we know a little bit about density, polarity, and chemical reactions, I have one last question for you. What do you think is denser, water or ice? Think about a cool glass of ice water or even a frozen lake. Do you have your answer? If you said ice, you guessed correctly. Ice always floats in water because it is less dense. During the winter, lakes that freeze over actually only have a thin sheet of ice over them, and the rest is still water. This allows for aquatic life to continue thriving during the winter. How cool is that? Have you heard of malaria? Malaria is a potentially deadly infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. It can get you really sick and kills hundreds of thousands of people every year. Although it is uncommon in the United States, it is still widespread in hot tropical regions around the world. Tu Youyou is a Chinese pharmaceutical chemist who discovered breakthrough medicines for malaria, saving millions of lives. For years, scientists tried to find treatments but found no success. In 1969, when Tu Youyou was 39, she decided to investigate some Chinese herbs to help treat malaria, one of which was really effective. When she was studying these herbs, she even insisted on being the first human to test them. For her remarkable work, Tu Youyou is the first woman from China to receive a Nobel Prize in any category. Thank you for watching, and I hope you liked making your lava lamps. Come back tomorrow to help us solve a mystery using something called color chromatography.